We are aware that not many seats are available, but we hope that is fine. For all that have been invited, there should be enough seats, actually. So good afternoon to all of you. For those who don't know what this event will be, it is a birthday party, so you will all invited to a birthday party today for the Red Early Mover program, 10 years of Red Early Mover program, and we are very honored to have a lot of family members from the Red Early Mover programs. We have representatives of Norway, of Germany, of UK today. We have the couple KfW here, but we are also especially honored to have representatives from Brazil, from the states of Mato Grosso and the state of Acre. We're very honored to have representatives from Colombia today, and possibly we'll also have representatives from Ecuador. It's yet to be seen if they will be able to arrive. Let's hope for that. For today, what are we going to do? This event is mainly about the celebration of the success that has been achieved through the Red Early Mover program. It's a very unusual COP event because normally at COP, these events concentrate on what I would call the political imperative. You come with a saying to say we need to do something in the future to achieve our goals. And sadly, a lot of these political imperatives do not work. This is why a lot of COP events talk about the future, but not about the past. This event today will focus on the past because so much has been achieved. What the states of Mato Grosso and Acre, Colombia and Ecuador can be extremely proud of. It's a big achievement, and this is the reason to celebrate today. And the celebration will also contain some thinking ahead. What can we learn from the last 10 years? And so we are grateful to have you here today to share your thoughts and to provide us with a vision also for the future. And last but not least, a good birthday party also requires some cocktails. So if you bear with us till the end of the event, there will be a cocktail reception and you're cordially invited to that. Before starting, let me introduce myself. My name is Michael Hüttner. I work for GIZ, the German International Corporation on Forest Climate Finance. As you can see, my special field of work is not Brazil. Otherwise, I would greet you in Portuguese, or I would greet you in Spanish. I have to apologize that you'll need a translation, but as a lot of you are more capable of different languages than I am, thank you for bearing with me. The first session I'd like to start now. Will you provide with a perspective from our donors? And first of all, I'd like to give the floor to Ms. Heike Henn. And Ms. Heike Henn works for the Ministry of Economic Cooperation in Germany. And that ministry has been very instrumental in shaping the Red Early Mover program from the German corporation side. And yes, we're very happy to have you here and look forward to your intervention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for being part of this birthday party. So congratulations to all of you, all of us, for this, I think, really joint and ambitious effort. I think I was looking at the couple of events where I have the honor to participate. I was very much looking forward to today, because it's an implementation COP, and what you have to celebrate is actually implementation. And at the same time, it's like you said, the early movers. It's about ambition, about taking a risk, about trying out a concept that is not already finalized until the 40th or 50th page, like normally your Germans would elaborate on a concept. It's really about getting things done. And I think this is the kind of ambition that we all need. And I think also what was is also speaking very much to me that the early mover program, the REM, is about not only climate, it's also about biodiversity, it's about sustainable use, it's about the sustainable development gains for local population, for indigenous people as well. So from what I'm missing right now still at this COP, but Biodiversity Day is to come, is really a strong link that pushes us also for ambition here in Sharm el-Sheikh, but also for ambition in Montreal at COP15. So, and this is really what I would like to come out of this celebration and your successes in the different countries, that it also shines a light up to Montreal and pushes us for more ambition and success there. But now talking about the Red Early Movers program, it's not only a success from the German perspective, but really from the partnership side of things with the different countries and regions and also development partners here on the panel. And I'm very proud that the combination of different instruments of financial cooperation with KfW from the German side and also technical cooperation provided by GIZ has provided really a good and innovative solution to reduce deforestation and forest degradation, because this is like the heart of the REM. And until today, talking about climate here in Sharm el-Sheikh, the REM program could contribute to emissions reductions of 88 million tons of CO2 equivalents. And this is really a success that you own and this partnerships owns. But committing to emissions reduction in the past is one thing, but all of us need also to commit to keeping this success and stabilize it for the future. And really need to also evolve our joint program instruments to contribute also to the future challenges regarding biodiversity and climate crisis. And some of the challenges I see on the way ahead is that deforestation is still on too high levels. We all have different challenges to really keep the forests, and efforts in forest protection need to be increased. And we need to have the discussion on what we can do jointly to really increase our ambition and impact in this respect. And forest monitoring is really crucial to know what we are talking about. We need to have really the data to know where we have to do better. And overall, I think we also have to be more innovative regarding financing. Today, I was also opening a meeting on Article 6. This is another area where we also have to be innovative and at the same time robust with clear standards and excellent monitoring to see what is happening. Because it's not about kind words about forests, it's about actual progress and not only keeping the forest, but also restoration of area under cover. And then on sustainable use, I think we need to continue to push for better benefit sharing for indigenous people and local communities. Because only if we have sustainable development and a sustainable use approach, we will be able to achieve our objectives. And this is, from my perspective, also a very important link to COP15, where the rights of indigenous people and communities will, from my perspective, hopefully play a crucial role. And I think in the REM program, we should work on this and acknowledge this as well. So obviously, what we do within RED Plus is not enough to conserve the forests worldwide. And we will therefore work jointly with the different initiatives and the partners. I'm very proud to have these very committed partners, the UK and Norway, at my side. It's really an excellent partnership as well. And I think we should push jointly for other more innovative ways of financing what we need to see, and trust all of you, and also, of course, our partner here, that Germany will stay committed and will even be more ambitious. We increased our pledge for the forest and climate partnership. We want to spend more on biodiversity and forests, so you have us here for the long term.
Thank you very much. You're allowed to clap. Thank you, Heike, also for making that linkage between biodiversity and forests, where I also think REM can provide a lot of lessons learned. And as you mentioned, ambitious partners are necessary for such endeavor. We are also happy to have Kate Yu here on the stage. Kate Yu is Director of International Climate Finance at UK's Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategies. So you have so much experience with international climate and development finance, and specifically in the forest sector. And the UK has been very instrumental, especially in the last year with the Glasgow Leaders Declaration, this landmark declaration where 145 countries committed to end deforestation by 2030. So this is something that has been signed at leaders level. Historically, this has never been done before. And we have seen your dedication also at this COP27, with the Forest and Climate Leaders Partnership, that this actually momentum will be translated in something that will guide us in the next years. And we are very happy to have a lot of countries already joining this initiative, and with some members still more to come. We are very optimistic that this will also evolve further into something very special. So, but Kate, I'll let you allude maybe on that and to give some perspectives from UK. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Michael, and thank you very much for inviting me here today to this celebration, to this birthday party. And gracias, obrigada. Like Michael said, I'm very sorry that my Spanish and Portuguese are not up to speaking in that, so doing this in English. So yes, thank you. But it is great to be here to celebrate the 10 years of Red Early Movers program. And as Michael just said, that I think we were so excited last year at COP26 to really bring nature into the heart of these climate discussions, because we know how critically important it is to our climate objectives and to achieving 1.5 degrees and to adaptation and resilience. And that if we're talking about nature, we're talking about climate, we're talking about adaptation, we're talking about biodiversity, and bringing those conversations together is critical. So having the leaders' conviction and commitment is really exciting and important, and having the Forest Climate Leaders Partnership so well attended, and that ongoing commitment, as Michael said, to the coming years and the coming decades is so important, because we know how complex these issues are, and we know we need to commit for the long term. And that's what this is about, and looking at lots of different ways of tackling these challenges together and learning together. But that's why it is exciting to be able to look back over the last 10 years of the Red Early Movers, to see how far we have come. And like all good birthday parties and celebrations, you take some time to look back at where you've come from, what has been achieved, what has gone well, and then to look to the future as well, and to see what needs to happen next. So I'd like to start by thanking so many people up here and in the room today for the hard work and dedication that has got us to where we are and is making the program such a success, delivering real results on the ground. The United Kingdom is committed to halting deforestation through a holistic approach, recognizing that complexity of tackling these issues. and focusing on the main drivers of deforestation by building capacity on the ground of key institutions and key organizations and communities as well. And REM, Red Early Movers, is a really important part of our international climate finance program, and we're really pleased to be a part of it and proud of its success. And I think the points that Heike made about the ambition that this program shows and the countries show in being part of this is to be applauded. And also that acceleration of action. That's what it's about, early movers, showing the way and making things happen. And in that light, REM has been a successful pioneer in this area, delivering the first ever verified RED Plus credits. So a huge congratulations there. And the benefit sharing that Heike mentioned is such an important part of all of this as well. Working with local communities and indigenous people across the Colombian Amazon, Mato, Grosso and Acre. And I know it's also seen successes in Ecuador as well. But this is an area where we know more needs to be done. We know that we need to do more to involve those communities. And I think that's part of what happens next for this program. But we are proud of how that locally owned approach of REM, of Red Early Movers, is a core part of what it does, enabling partner governments to build their own capacity in RED Plus readiness and delivery, and to implement a program that is responsive in the local context. And in Mato Grosso, we are delighted to see the recent call for proposals for indigenous projects. In Colombia, we are proud that Vision Amazonia has become the focal program for the government's future investments into the Colombian Amazon, including the new Plan de Choc, the deforestation shock plan. And in Acre, we are impressed that the program has been able to react to the difficulties of the pandemic, providing families with emergency food supplies. I hope you can still hear me against the exciting music in the background. Please wave at the back if I need to speak louder. Okay, you can hear me. Waving because you can hear me. That's excellent. And in Brazil and Colombia, we welcome the new government's focus on protection of forests and biodiversity, and we're pleased to continue to support this goal through REM, as well as our other nature programming as well. And we hope that this continued partnership between us all, between the people you see on the stage here, between those countries, between the state level organizations and the communities, and our delivery partners as well, will continue through REM into the future, and we can together reduce deforestation levels across the Amazon. So we're really excited about what comes next, and maybe to celebrating in 5 years, 10 years time, where Red Early Movers has taken us, and that this really becomes part of the fabric, the integral nature of how we look at deforestation in these countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kate. This was very eluding, because instead of talking about the international level and your diplomatic outreach that you have done so successfully, you stressed the importance of the local level, working with local communities, indigenous communities, showing that this is equally important. And we can talk for hours at international conferences, but if nothing changes on the ground, then what we are doing is in vain. So thank you very much for these insights. As you have seen, or better, as you have heard, other people also try to have a party. This is maybe the special atmosphere of COP27. You have a birthday party of like 50, 60 people, but at the same time, you have approximately 30,000 bystanders. So we hope, despite the situation, you enjoy this party so far. Now, it's my pleasure to actually invite Andreas Dahl Jørgensen from Norway's International Forest and Climate Initiative to say a few words about what Norway has done. And I can say Norway's engagement is so impressive. They have so much engagement and focus on tropical forests that when you think of tropical forests, you not only think about Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, you also think about Norway. Although they have no forests, at least that's not no tropical rainforest, but the engagement and the dedication is so impressive that I think one can say that Norway has been a very, very strong partner for tropical rainforest countries, not only the 3 here today, but many more. And so it's my pleasure to ask Andreas about a few insights from his perspective.
Thank you very much, Michael, and thank you to all of you for and congratulations to all of you. Everyone here is a birthday. Call it jubilant. No. You know, it's really a pleasure for me to be here with you to talk about these programs taken together, because they have some similarities and they're all unique in their own way. For us, as you said, we've been focusing a lot on tropical forests for 15 years now, although actually I should say before I start, we do have a tiny patch of rainforests in Norway. We don't have a tropical rainforest. We do have a lot of forests, but when we bring you know, indigenous leaders from Brazil or Colombia or Ecuador to Norway or to Oslo, and they walk around the forest, they don't call it a forest. They think it's not what they think of as a forest. But we enjoy it every weekend. So I think for us, just to summarize a little bit about what this contribution has been in our overall work to address deforestation, I think this has been a part of a very important journey for the international community to think about REDD+ and how to engage not only countries but also subnational governments. And I think that was a unique feature of REM, that it had direct transactions with Mato Grosso and with Acre. At the time where we had the Amazon Fund, but this was a different thing, and so that created additional learnings and additional experiences to bring to the global community and how we think about REDD going forward. We had, of course, early on, we had the World Bank funds on REDD+. We had our bilateral agreements, and some of them we had together. And REM was a new mechanism of thinking of how we could do results-based payments, not multilaterally, not bilaterally, but also together among our 3 countries. And I think that was a really important part of us growing closer together as partners on this issue. So where this all fits in, I think what we need to do to meet Kate's goals from Glasgow is multifaceted, right? So of course the forest governments, they need to implement land use planning and enforcement and economic policies to provide alternatives and to change incentives on the ground to reduce deforestation. On the other hand, we need to reduce the pressure on tropical forests from global markets, and have the global market be a force for good and support to those policies that the forest countries and governments are doing. And so I think in some of the REDD programs, you also see some of this innovation in policies, but also on how the local communities and farmers are supported in that transition. We've seen a tremendous innovation on benefit sharing, and I would have to say this was something that Germany was quite insistent about, that in the beginning, about that the program has to have a certain share of revenues from carbon going to indigenous peoples and local communities. And I think that's been a very interesting setup and has had the very important results. Of course, I could go on and talk about the various programs, and I won't do that because it would take too long. I think the Amazon vision is now being elevated by the new national government in Colombia, and the experiences that REM has contributed to, I see Jose Yunis here, are being really something that the government wants to take further. And I think REM is a model for something we want to take further. This was a sort of a multi-bilateral effort to innovate and partner on results-based REDD+, and REDD+ will have to take a step further, because we know that the pressure that the forests are under will not be, the governments cannot withstand that pressure without support, and much more support than we've seen to date. And I believe that the lessons we've learned from REM, from the bilateral partnerships, from the World Bank funds, will enable us to scale up also international carbon payments with high integrity at the scale that we haven't seen so far. And so all these lessons will be beneficial as we think about how to build capacity, how to monitor forests, how to consult indigenous peoples, local communities, how to share the benefits And all these things will be lessons that REM can contribute to a much larger effort going forward. So thank you very much for a good collaboration so far, and to all of you. It's not our contribution to reduce deforestation. That is the governors that are here, and the governments that are represented from the forest countries. And I look forward to hearing from them. Thank you.
Thank you, Andreas. This was quite inspiring, also making the link to the future. Now, looking at carbon markets and how carbon markets have taken off, doubling or even growing further in the volumes. And I think here, as you said, a lot can be learned from the REM program that has so sophisticated benefit sharing schemes that current carbon market schemes are often lacking. So this is really something to look forward in detail. All of you know Klaus in this room, I would say. Klaus is well known. He's been like the face of the REM program from KfW side. He's portfolio manager of KfW. And some of you will also recall that Karl-Heinz, who was like the founding father of the REM program, but he's retired right now, I think in a well-deserved retirement. And afterwards, Christiane is also well known to a lot of you. Klaus is the third person in a row to really successfully manage the REM program for the KfW, and it's an extreme pleasure to have a few insights and a few reflections from your side of what this recipe for success has been for the REM program. Because as Andreas has mentioned, we saw a lot of other programs, especially from the big multilateral banks, but they haven't been that fast and they haven't been that successful at aspects like benefit sharing, getting benefits to the local level in reducing deforestation. So very happy to hear a few insights, reflections from your side on these success recipes of the Red Early Mover program. Thank you.
I will stand up because I have prepared a little presentation. I'm afraid it will be a little bit difficult for you to see it, but if you but the presentation is not so important, actually. What is important is that we are all here together, to celebrate and commemorate this 10-year of program. And I mean, Michael, thanks very much. I'm not sure whether I'm a successful portfolio manager. This we can maybe tell at the end of my career. But it's been quite a challenging time since I took over this portfolio. I'm responsible for REM in Colombia and Brazil, and a colleague of mine is responsible for REM in Ecuador. So if you look at the logos, I mean, we couldn't put all the logos on one page, actually. The government logos are missing, but this shows us how many actors are actually involved in this program. We have the two states from Brazil, Acre and Mato Grosso. We have Colombia with Vision Amazonia, and we have REM Ecuador. So 3 countries, 4 jurisdictions, we can say. And we have the implementing organizations, GIZ, KfW, the lead financer, which is BMZ through the German corporation, and the co-financing, which was made available by Norway, NICFI, and UK base. So we feel ourselves as partners, and that's why we celebrate together today. I think we are all united in the same goal and cause to fight deforestation, but also to improve the livelihoods of the people that live in and from the forests. And this is also something that we wanted to bring here into this party. We have invited also representatives from indigenous groups from Brazil and Colombia. Not all of them could make it here, but we wanted to be as inclusive as possible. And this is actually one of the trademarks of REM. So if we go to the next slide, please. I'm also very happy that GIZ has helped us to put together a small publication which is available on the internet, and you can scan the barcode from the balcony over there. there you can download this publication, which tries on a few pages to summarize what the REM program is about and what lessons we can learn from it. And I won't go into the details. I think it's better if you download it and read it and reflect on it. But we tried to somehow summarize a little bit the experience from the last 10 years. So please go to the next slide, please. Just as a reminder, where REM is active today in 3 countries that I mentioned. The dates here are the dates when the contracts were signed. And we see that why we are celebrating 10 years is because Acre signed the first contract in December 2012. This was when the program was officially launched. And then later on, we had contracts signed with Colombia, Mato Grosso, Ecuador, and the second phase of Acre. And we, of course, are already, and then I want to please go to the next slide. Next slide, yes. This gives you an overview of the financial figures. So overall, these are the currently signed contracts, about 221 million euro. And this is what we have already paid in terms of results. So it's quite impressive. Some results are still being verified, or some results are not yet materialized. So we have to work hard on that to make sure that all the contracts can be fully paid. And we are already talking about our future extensions of the program in Mato Grosso, in Colombia, in Ecuador. So these are contracts under negotiation, which amount to roughly 70 million euro additional funding. And we hope that this event will also motivate our financing partners to think about new contributions to REM, because we believe that it is a success story. Also, it has also had difficult times, and we all know that the Amazon is actually at a tipping point. Yeah, so it's not not something that is gives us a very good feeling in terms of what's going on with deforestation. But I'm always saying, what would have happened if we wouldn't have programs like REM? Yeah, maybe the situation would be much worse. And that's a question we can maybe answer in a couple of years. It's too early, I think, to answer this question right now. So please, the next slide. Yeah, this I will not go into detail, but just to remind us that we are paying for results in deforestation. If we take the example of Mato Grosso, we can see how drastically Brazil has achieved reducing deforestation, mainly since 2004. And this is what enabled those payments. Yeah. So we are talking about payments which has been achieved in the period from 2004 to 2012. And these are the 3 years in the case of 4 years in the case of Mato Grosso, where we could reward results. But what you also see is the risk of losing a little bit that momentum, yeah, and not having sufficient results to continue with the same logic of payments. So this is where we are working very hard with our partners to really make sure that we can, again, break this trend of rising deforestation and enable our partners to achieve results again. This is one of the big objectives of the REM program in the coming years. And please go to the next slide. Now, we talked about benefit sharing. I think this is really a trademark of REM and also of German cooperation. Together with GIZ, we strongly believe in that. Yeah, Andreas has mentioned it. Yeah, sometimes it can be painful because it needs a lot of consultation with stakeholders. The construction of these benefit sharing programs was not an easy process, and I think our partners can testify that. But all of the 4 programs have very similar benefit sharing arrangements. Yeah, all of them have a strong indigenous component. About 20% of the funding goes to indigenous people and local communities, in some cases even more. I think this is quite exceptional. And our aim is to raise this ambition even more in the future, because we strongly believe in the inclusion of the populations that are the guardians of the forest. And so these components are transversal. And then we also work on the other parts. The theory of change of REM considers the standing forest, but also considers the deforestation front, the areas where we have high deforestation. Colombia is a good example. They work very specifically on the deforestation hotspots. And that is why we have these other components in the agriculture sector, but also a very strong part in the institutional capacity building policies and fortifying institutions to fight deforestation and to make this also public policies, not just government policies or project policies. And I think that is what is in these blue components. In all programs, the enabling conditions or the institutional strengthening forest governance has a very huge role. Next slide, please. Yes, if you read the publication, you will find out that the REM is still a laboratory. Yeah, we are still not at the end. We are still trying out things, and we see that some things work and others didn't work so well. So we change. We constantly adjust and try to demonstrate the viability of the benefit sharing, which I think we achieved in many cases already. And we are also trying to strengthen these RED+ policies in the jurisdictions. REM has made a big contribution to that, yeah, and also providing examples of how it can be done. Yeah, it is nowadays all of the countries and jurisdictions have MRV systems, carbon registries, and safeguards. Safeguards for us also, as German corporation, is fundamental in all projects we implement. And it's also not been an easy process, I must tell you, because we have several levels of safeguards. We have the Cancun safeguards on the policy level, but also the benefit sharing components have their own safeguards requirements, which are quite complex because we deal in very different areas, which are sometimes also very risky if you start interventions in forests or with local communities. So I think this is also something where REM has a big contribution and achieved good results. So please to the next slide. The key impacts. Yeah, I would have liked to give you figures or evidences, but we think it is also the program completes 10 years. It is still early to talk about impacts because in the forest sector, impacts sometimes they take time to show, and we need some more counterfactual analysis. This is what we realized, and we are working on that together with GIZ to do some counterfactual studies to see what happens outside of the area of intervention of REM. Is the situation similar, worse, or better? Are we doing really the right thing? So this needs a little bit more of study and analysis. But what we can say today, if we take together all the program results which we compiled from the different programs, that REM by some way has positively affected the livelihoods of more than 170,000 people already living in the intervention areas of REM, and that REM is active in the conservation of more than 41 million hectares of land. These are quite impressive figures. That doesn't mean that each hectare of land is effectively protected. Yeah, please don't understand me wrong. But some action is going on in an indigenous territory, and that contributes to preserve the forest and conserve the forest in those polygons. Yeah. So just to give you an idea of the potential impact that lies in this program, they are quite amazing. And I think we can, yeah, and innovation, I think we can also be proud of many innovations that have been introduced also in the technological sphere. With geoinformation and satellite monitoring, Mato Grosso has done a great job in controlling deforestation and has a state-of-the-art system, which is a model also for other jurisdictions. Colombia is using artificial intelligence and geoinformation to target interventions. They have a very clear idea where they have to put the actions and put the money, in which geographies they have to be active. And Acre also has improved very much their forest monitoring system with the help of REM. So I think we can say REM is also a driver of innovation. And now let me finalize and wrap it up with 2 more slides. Please, the next slide. Our main lesson learned, we have done midterm evaluations in all of the 4 programs, and all have shown that REM is highly relevant. Yeah, that's not a big surprise, but it's good to know that the relevance is there. Yeah, the effectiveness is satisfactory in all of the programs. So yes, they have been effective in reducing deforestation, not in the whole state or in the whole country, but in those areas where REM is active, we could also prove that there is a reduction of deforestation. But we need to improve efficiency. We still face bureaucratic processes. We still face the problem of government administrations, which are sometimes slow and cumbersome. And even our internal processes are not yet very streamlined. So we are working on that. This was a clear message from the evaluators that efficiency needs to improve. Yeah, you could say 10 years is a long time. Why did you spend so much time? Yes, I confess that the programs had a slow start. Yeah, then we had the pandemic, which also slowed down the performance. It cost us maybe a year. Yeah, but we are positive and think that the efficiency can be improved. And now the methodologies are in place. Now our partners have already the blueprints, and they know how to do forest policy and how to work with local communities. I think this is something which took time to build up, but now we can use these tools. And what I would also say is we have to have always the political will. Yeah, without that, and this is very important. Yeah, it sounds maybe, yeah, like something very, very evident, but without the political will of our partner countries to really develop low carbon economies, REM can also not succeed and produce results. What we have also learned is that effective participation comes at a cost. Yeah, it's not for free. REM has invested very heavily in technical cooperation, especially in the part of consultation processes and participation in the dialogue with indigenous people and local communities. And these processes take time. It's not something that goes very fast. We would sometimes like to be faster, but some consultation processes, they take months or even years. So we have to consider that also. What REM has also shown, and this is also a big thank you to the donors, that we had flexibility to renegotiate agreements, yeah, especially in the case, for example, of project timelines. When we saw that REM was affected by the pandemic, we could renegotiate durations of projects. Even funding timelines could be renegotiated. And this was very important because we also face always the problem of changing governments. In a program that has a 10 years lifetime, you have different governments. So every time you need to renegotiate your commitments. And this was possible with REM. Now, REM is basically a carbon program, you could say. We reward carbon results, but we also want to look beyond carbon. Because what we have seen is that the low-hanging fruits are harvested. And now we have to talk about what comes next. What can we do with jurisdictions that fail to produce the results? Yeah. What approaches can be developed? So together with our partners, BMZ, NICFI, and BASE, we have worked on a milestone approach, which helps us to come through the difficult times, yeah, and still staying engaged with our partners in Brazil, Colombia, and Ecuador. And we have to think about other approaches as well, because we are sure that the deforestation can be reduced again, but we need also some maybe new approaches. And please, the next slide, and this is my last slide, look a little bit an outlook of how we as KfW together with GIZ see the program in the future. We think that they are all at a mature stage. They are not early movers anymore. Actually, now they are the veterans, I would say. Yeah? But maybe we can find new early movers. Yeah, so we're looking into other geographies, are discussing with the governments also whether REM could be expanded to other geographies. And we are also negotiating extensions with all of our partners, which is good. So there will be extension of the current programs. And what is also our big question is how big is the donors' appetite? Because we know that the markets, carbon markets are also changing. REM is not the only player anymore. We have many more players and actors. So it will depend on our competitiveness also, and whether our partners in the future still want to work with us, or maybe they prefer other initiatives. Yeah, this is something we cannot really influence, but we are always also having a close eye on the markets. And my personal belief is that there is still room for them. We still have a few years to go, because markets are also not yet ready to provide the answer. So I think we can use that niche to continue for a few years, but we also have to think about exit strategies, yeah, because REM is not a program that was thought to be providing finance forever. So thinking about what comes next, exit, that is something we want to discuss with you in the future. And discussion around new standards. We are engaged with this, for example, in the case of Ecuador, this will become a topic. And yes, our extended goal is not just carbon, but to solve the double crisis, climate, biodiversity, that was mentioned also by the panelists. And REM wants to provide forest protection with added benefits, with the climate, livelihood, and biodiversity benefits. And this is my vision, our vision, which we developed together. And I hope that we can make it our vision. And with that, I already talked too long, but now I will give the floor back to Michael, and want to say thank you, everybody. I'm just a manager. I'm not, I have a project perspective. I'm not a politician, but I'm very fascinated and enthusiastic about this program. It's my baby, and I hope we can continue in that spirit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Klaus. While the chairs are rearranged, and it's not rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, it's really rearranging the podium for the next guests, or better to say, the next speakers to come. I think one can say, Klaus said in the end, it's his baby, and you can see when you celebrate a 10th birthday, how a baby has developed into a child quite big already. I have a son who is 10 years old, so I know what I'm talking about. And how a person changes over the years. And Klaus has mentioned the innovation part in the Red Olive Mover program. And I think this is really something that is striking to see, that it's not something that you set up 10 years ago and then you keep it static, but it evolves actually and keeps track with the changes that we are seeing, potentially also with new developments, new challenges, and new opportunities, as Klaus has alluded to. It was a lot, I have to say. So if you are a little bit overwhelmed like I am, please recall what Klaus has said in the beginning. There's a QR code in the back, so you can download all this wisdom and knowledge, lessons learned from Red Olive Mover in the last 10 years in that report. And I think it provides an excellent overview on these things. What we're talking about is not just rewarding emission reductions from avoiding deforestation or reducing deforestation and forest degradation. We are talking about a program that has been also very instrumental in shaping, developing low carbon land use economies, low carbon bioeconomies, something that now more and more people are talking about. And when we discussed it in the last days and last years, I have to say, with colleagues, it was always very evident that look at other sectors like the energy sector, the power sector, the transport sector. Land use is actually more complicated. It takes more determination. It takes more engagement at different levels. So it is my pleasure now to invite those who have done a tremendous job in bringing these innovations to the states, to the countries, in order to not only have it as a nice concept that you can present as a COP, but to make it day-to-day reality of the people. And therefore, I'd now like to ask the governors of Mato Grosso, of Acre, the representative for Colombia, Jose Yunis. And I think, unfortunately, we do not have the representative from Ecuador here today. They couldn't come, unfortunately, but I think with Brazil and with Colombia, we have two excellent examples of leadership in that space. So please come to the front. Thank you. Wherever you want, yeah. So I would like to start with your intervention, Excellency. It is a pleasure. It's an honor to have you here. And through the work that you have done in Brazil, I think so many countries have been inspired by your leadership and have been inspired by the results actually that you achieved. So please give us some insights of how this REM program has actually been incorporated in your state policies, how your state policies have actually achieved the results that we see in the REM program, and also what will be the lessons for the future from your perspective. Thank you, Excellency.
Boa tarde a todos.
First of all, good afternoon, everyone. I would like to greet you and especially greet the partners of REM. Congratulations for the work that is being developed in Mato Grosso in the last 4 years. I confess that when I took over as governor of my state almost 4 years ago, when you take over an activity, no matter the size and relevance of that activity, first there is a moment of acknowledgement, of understanding some of the challenges. And that is what we did in many areas. One of them was getting to know these cooperations that the government has signed before and that we were supposed to develop in the next 4 years. In getting to know a little bit more about the topic and about the RAM program, getting to know the strategy that was signed and the commitments that were agreed and the resources that were allocated to Mato Grosso, to some of the programs in family agriculture and the indigenous peoples and land regularization, I saw there an opportunity of this partnership to develop actions that could bring some benefits to our population, and that effectively could translate into concrete results. I understood that the efforts that the world was making to reduce deforestation at the time were beautiful efforts that maybe were able to achieve concrete results and is achieving concrete results. However, keeping the forest standing without thinking about the population are not the real efforts. However, the RAM program is an example of partners that is benefiting populations that somehow are providing services to the planet. Creating economic restrictions, is it going to solve this problem? I don't believe this alternative. No matter if it is an environmental crime. In my country, carrying out the deforestation is a crime. But there are people that are carrying out deforestation in my country and in other countries. Crimes are carried out in several areas. If you don't provide to the human being an alternative so that the human being can build with their work, their dreams, their families. You said you have a 10-year-old son. If you don't provide to your 10-year-old son an opportunity, probably they will carry out illegal activities. In Brazil or in any part of the planet, you find in urban areas people who are committing some kind of offense. So if we want in our country, and if we want in any part of the world to protect our forests, and there are forests to be protected in all regions of the planet, in Africa, in Indonesia, in Latin America, in other regions, in developed countries, in rich countries, we have to do what we have committed to do, especially in the Paris Agreement. Or else, we're always going to have in any part of the country, in any part of the planet, people who are in the margin of a growth process, and they're going to commit offenses. That is why I wanted to be in this panel. Recently, I could see the results of REM in our country. They are not that big, but they are real results. My state of Mato Grosso invested in these 4 years values that are way above this partnership so that we could achieve the same results. Only in family agriculture, of the small properties, we have invested $100 million in the last 4 years. Land regularization. We had an important project developed from REM, the real-time monitoring project, maybe the most successful program that we have in Brazil. No other Brazilian state could reach the level of monitoring that the state of Mato Grosso has today. And that was a partnership that started with the RAM program. Today, we have the technology that allows us to detect in real time any illegal deforestation above 1 hectare in 24 hours. And that happens because this program started one day. My superintendent told me, next year, we're not going to have the money from REM to continue this program. But I said, no problem. The government of Mato Grosso is going to invest in this program, and we're not going to discontinue our environmental monitoring program. Above all, we are aware of the importance of this program, and we would like other countries to have the same awareness. The richer countries need to truly do their part, not only allocating resources, but especially reducing their carbon emissions and reducing the consumption of fossil fuels that are so harmful for carbon emissions in the planet. This contribution needs to be from all. But I have to acknowledge that the RAM program was a historical moment 4 years ago, and it was extremely important. It helped us financially. It established goals and objectives, and it helped us find a new path. And today we were able to remain in this path even without the financial support. But we believe that it will continue happening because we acknowledge the important environmental services that Mato Grosso is providing to the planet. Thank you.
Obrigado. Thank you very much. Governor Mendes, this was extraordinary leadership, I think, that you showcased, not only when it comes to the technology that you alluded to, the real-time deforestation monitoring. I think you are a world leader in this space. I think this can be said, but also bringing back the focus that fighting deforestation is not about trees in the first place, it's about people. Bringing people into the position to grow economically, have prosperity, develop the state in a way that will actually provide a future for all of the population, but at the same time knowing that prosperity cannot come at the cost of the climate. Prosperity needs to be in line with the Paris Agreement, because otherwise, and I think Klaus has alluded to, we have this risk of tipping points, especially in the Amazon. Destroying the forest spaces will mean a lot of challenges to prosperity, because it's a lot of challenge to the ecosystem services that forests provide, and also the productivity is dependent. The productivity of, for example, goods like soy that are very important for Mato Grosso is dependent on a healthy forest. So thank you very much. I think this type of leadership is really, really inspiring beyond this, and I hope beyond this room here, to a lot of people outside, where Brazil and I think Colombia and Ecuador can be global role models. They can be global leaders where the world looks up to and sees actually how this green transformation can be achieved in practice, not against people, but for the people. So thank you very much for that. Jose, I know you are here in the space, I don't mean the COP, I mean the environmental space for a very long time. So you all see that come and gone, and I think you can bring us a lot of experiences. I know you always bring us apology that your minister cannot be here today, but having you is also an honor to us. So I'm happy to give you the floor, and maybe you can give us a little bit of experiences, how this has been implemented in Colombia, how it was integrated into the policy, and what it also means in terms of next steps and future outcome. Thank you, Jose.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Governor. On behalf of the Minister Susana Muhammad, she was here up until yesterday, but the new government is just arrived in Colombia. I know that you are aware of it, as in Brazil, it was a new changing government. It has been roughly 2 months, 15 days into power, and they are drafting now the national plan law. So she came here for a week, but she couldn't stay, and we couldn't make her match also with the vice minister. So sorry. So you end up with me, but I'll try to do my best. Of course, I cannot replace her, but she sends a video that we may play later on. 6 years ago, when we started here, the monitoring system was not as strong. We had a working system, monitoring system, but we didn't have the capacity for many of the things that we are now focusing very much now. Now we are tackling deforestation in a much different way than when we started. We started like lines of work on agricultural production, or the indigenous community, or education, or land use management. And now we are progressively putting the efforts in places where we have the hotspots of deforestation, and we are combining all the instruments now in certain areas. So we are trying to tackle now the areas that are hotspot for deforestation, and making them forest sustainable development lands for a new economy. A new economy is a forestry-based economy. It's easy to say, but it's difficult to make it happen. So the issue right now is that we now have the capacity and the instruments that we didn't have, even though because of the program that back all these efforts since 2017. Right now, the government is taking the framework that we have developed within the country and is taking it to the new stage. They receive a program that knows where deforestation is happening, how much deforestation, where and when is happening. So we can also detect that. The issue right now is how to tackle all that deforestation. And as the governor said, we agree on the same page that it's not about just command and control. That's a part of it. But the communities and the people need the means, the livelihoods, they are. So what we are doing right now is engaging with those populations, voluntary agreements right now, and making it and walk the walk with them. This is not a project. This is a process. This is what we did is a new economy. It's a forestry-based economy. Well, that takes time. It's not just for a cycle project, in my view, because by the time you get the instruments or the grid instruments and you decide that you apply it and you went into the communities, then you hit, you have to start scaling them up because you have to try, you have to go for the hurdles, don't underestimate the juridical, the law issues and the administrative issues, but once you start deploying them, you need to really pick up the pace, and that's what we are right now in Colombia. I'm very pleased to report that given the program and the contributions and the knowledge that it has brought in all the aspects, including working with the indigenous community at a scale that we have never worked before in the country, we are disbursing more money for the indigenous community than the national transfers that were at that moment. So now we have a distributional tool for this to happen. Now the government is taking it into place and is saying, okay, I'm putting the tax law bodies and resources that we had before, that we didn't have before, for the environment. We are going to place it on the environment and we are going to start disbursing following the framework that you have proven that it works. The areas that we work and that we are targeting have 97% of effectiveness, 92% of effectiveness, whether it's either if it's a payment for ecosystem services or if it's a forestry area for forest development, sustainable forest, or it's a agreement, a conservation agreement with the rural communities. So what the government said right now is we need to scale it up. We are ready to do it up, and we are going to place the bodies now so we can bring it to the scale that is needed. So right now, what we are thinking about, the way that we are going to be doing is that the forest, the tax carbon forest has been modified right now, has been placed under the ministry, as I said now. It's going to go for a special fund where we can distribute the bodies now, not only for the Amazon, I guess, but it's also going to go for and trickle down for the Chocó region, which is also very important, or the other forests that are in Colombia. So to me, are very exciting times right now. It's a project that started, a program that started in the last year of President Santos. We came from a pre-war situation, with a war situation, to a post-conflict situation. And we have gone through a pandemic, we have gone through a national strike, we have lived everything together as everybody here else. But the government and the communities are engaging. Now everybody is talking about the forestry-based model. I have never seen that in a presidential race before. The rates of deforestation never were important, right? Really didn't hit. Now are part of the political process, are part of the political debates. Numbers are taking to another level the situation with the forest and are making a cry out for the people for that demand action. So public policy is being into place right now, and that's part also because of the REM program. So we are very happy to see that this is evolving and this is getting to a level that it was not. You saw it in the speeches that President Petro himself is a champion, saying is the Amazon what it counts right now. So now we have a much more political will that started at the ministerial level, at the Ministry of Environment. the budget for the Minister of Agriculture was double too. That was very important also in the case, because it's not only because of the REM program, but the REM program needs the Minister of Agriculture as others agriculture. So public policy, public funding are following to the right places right now. So that's the way we are going right now in Colombia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jose. That's very inspiring to see how the REM program and the lessons learned from the REM program are taken on board and are employed actually by the new government with so much dedication and spirit. And I think your minister not being here today is a sign of dedication and diligence, because she's already back to work, which I think is a very good sign. So also please extend our greetings from this event to your minister and to the new government. It's very encouraging to see these developments and how this is taken up, especially to fight the hotspots of deforestation, and knowing that this is the hardest thing to do actually for the near future. You said you had a video to show for your minister. I know we're a little bit short of time, but if you bear with us and
well, it will be, I mean, it was a 5 minute, but her intervention is within the minute and a half that she left for you, so I can put it for a minute.
Yeah, maybe you put the intervention of your minister, that would be fine,
Right.
if you can see that. Thank you. Let me allude to the next phase, and I know that it's a long day today at COP, and it's already long in the hour also for the event, but actually it is time to honor the real early movers in this endeavor, and the real early movers are the ones that have done it ages before KfW even existed, ages before the state of Mato Grosso existed, or the Republic of Colombia existed. And these are the indigenous leaders, the indigenous communities, the local communities that have done a tremendous job in protecting their ancestral lands, and that have the knowledge and that have the determination to also do that in the future. We know that for a lot of indigenous leaders, life can be very dangerous because of the threats that they receive from certain groups, specifically from invaders. Nonetheless, these groups stand up, defend their rights, defend their culture, and also defend the forests. And therefore, it is my honor now to call on the indigenous representatives to come on stage while we wait for the video. So I hope we still have them with us. So I would please welcome our indigenous representative on stage. Huh? Yeah. So I was told we play the video first and then we invite you to the stage, if that is okay.
Me pediram para primeiro mostrar o vídeo.
6 años implementando REM Colombia Visión Amazonía han dado sus frutos. Gracias a él, hoy tenemos la visión y la hoja de ruta para contener la deforestación en la Amazonía. Nuestras intervenciones, basadas en la ciencia, nos permiten saber cuánto, cuándo y dónde se deforesta, para así implementar estrategias efectivas para atender. Lo anterior con los más altos estándares de transparencia y responsabilidad con los distintos actores.
Agradecerles por todo el apoyo, por confiar en la organización, en la Asociación de Mujeres del Guainía, porque a través de eso nosotros podemos transformar vidas, podemos conservar nuestro medio ambiente, podemos conservar nuestra cultura.
Yo la comunidad la motivo a que sigamos el proceso de visión amazónica. Sembremos el cultivo, no echemos pie atrás.
Muchas gracias por esa oportunidad, muchas gracias, la verdad. Me siento tan feliz de esa oportunidad que nos dieron.
Apoyamos al gobierno para que expida y armonice las políticas públicas que impulsen un modelo forestal sostenible, dejando atrás el modelo extractivo.
Son 10 años de este programa que empezó y que queremos decir
decir, le ha dejado a Colombia grandes lecciones sobre las que estamos trabajando. 6 años del programa Visión Amazonía nos han enseñado mucha información y muchos acuerdos sociales y también profundizar sobre las realidades concretas de la región. Es hora, y esa es nuestra ambición, que podamos escalar esta acción para que ya sea no solamente un programa de cooperación, sino que se convierta en una política pública de largo plazo y que genere la institucionalidad pública y el sustento para fomentar con las comunidades la restauración del bosque y también, obviamente, la capacidad de frenar la deforestación. Un agradecimiento a todos y todas los que han contribuido, los donantes, la cooperación internacional, las comunidades, las personas que han trabajado en los programas y proyectos, porque realmente nos están dejando un activo para el futuro.
Los núcleos de desarrollo forestal son el camino para posicionar la economía forestal. En la región se llevan a cabo pagos por servicios ambientales y la implementación de iniciativas campesinas con sistemas productivos, bajo enfoque de cadenas de valor y acompañados de la extensión rural agroambiental. Actualmente contamos con 37.110 familias vinculadas al programa y 297.932 hectáreas bajo acuerdos de conservación. 8 plantas de transformación para generar mayores ingresos a las familias comprometidas con la conservación. 345 extensionistas agroambientales, prestando asistencia técnica a las familias campesinas y líneas de créditos verdes, con el incentivo al capital por la conservación de los bosques. Financiamos 140 proyectos indígenas, con un cubrimiento del 70% de la Amazonía colombiana. El 10% ha sido destinado exclusivamente para mujer y familia. A través de monitoreos satelital frecuente, hemos identificado niveles de cumplimiento superiores al 90% de las intervenciones del programa. 740 líderes rurales capacitados como gestores de Sena y 2.500 niños y niñas de las escuelas rurales motivados con proyectos ambientales escolares, localizados en las veredas con más altas tasas de deforestación, buscando fortalecer la gobernanza ambiental del territorio.
Un grupo de docentes en Caquetá recorrerá varios municipios capacitando líderes contra la deforestación. Los profesores buscan el rescate de la Amazonía.
Llegamos a 21 millones de personas sensibilizadas con la campaña Amazonía sin llamas, que contó con la participación de más de 150 artistas nacionales e internacionales.
Y hago un llamado para que no se tumben los árboles, para que no se queme la selva, porque la Amazonía en pie garantizará que tengamos agua, que el planeta no se siga calentando y que siga la vida en la Tierra como la conocemos. En esta temporada seca, digamos no a las quemas y no a la deforestación, por nuestra Colombia y por nuestros niños.
Sabemos que no es una tarea fácil, pero seguimos avanzando. El tiempo nos está demostrando que estamos en el camino correcto y nuestro futuro es optimista. Estamos listos para transitar de Red Early Movers a Movers, escalando el modelo que hemos implementado gracias a su apoyo. Conservar el bosque sí paga.
So now, as I said, we're very happy, we're very honored to invite our indigenous representatives and also our representative from the civil society. So, Santo and Francisca and José, you're very welcome to the stage.
Vocês são muito bem-vindas para vir ao palco.
Okay. So I was told that Josie already had to leave, unfortunately, but we're very happy to have you on the stage. And of course, we are very happy also to receive your insights, as you are not only recipients of some of the effects of red early movers and some of the benefits, but you are the voice of the forest and you are the guardians of the forest, so we are very happy to have you here and happy to give you the floor. I'd like to start ladies first. I hope this is okay for you. Yeah.
Boa tarde a todos e a todas.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Francisca. I'm from Xambanduawa people in the state of Acre. I am in the Institute of Climate Change in the state of Acre, and I am as a representative of the regional committee for the partnership with indigenous communities and other traditional communities. Mauren does that with the secretaries, and I work with the indigenous peoples and traditional communities. It's a great honor to be here in this with this audience, because the other day the indigenous people came to talk and all the secretaries left, and I was very sad to see that happening, because my role is to enable this dialogue among the indigenous peoples and traditional communities. And when I saw that and they came to talk to me and they told me, where's your work? And people demand me. And to see now the governor of Mato Grosso, our secretary Mauren, our partners, the different secretaries of state, our state of Acre with other people present, and civil society and other friends as well that had their story engaged with us, because this work is the fruit of many hands. The state of Acre, as you know, for us to receive this opportunity, the resources from RAM, Acre needed to structure itself with laws, norms, principles. And we had a conversation like this one with the government, the civil society, with the indigenous peoples, the traditional communities, Apecuá. Because the resources that we received, it comes from everyone. It's not only for the indigenous peoples, for the extractive communities, it's for everyone to receive equally. So we did this work to collect recommendations, and from the recommendations, 365 of them resulted in the construction of the state law for the incentive of environmental services and the letter of principles and the governance and safeguard from the state of Acre. And with all that, with all the framework, we were ready to receive any program, any project, and it wasn't easy. Because to receive the programs and projects, we must have this understanding. Is this project going to be good for my people, for my land? Won't it violate the rights of the indigenous peoples? And we asked that questions many times. And Acre today has an autarky. And I'm very happy to see Mato Grosso, Tocantins, Maranhão, Amazonas, Pará, all the other states also advancing in their policies, using our experience in Acre and Mato Grosso. And many times they are doing even better or the same. And that's very good. It's gratifying to see that our work was working, that Caesar worked, and it must work, because if it doesn't work, all the others are going to fail as well. And in the state of Acre, we have 16 peoples, 200 villages, 20,000 indigenous people, and we had this whole rule. It was not Caesar that brought that. We had a history. We only used what we had, and we put that on paper. And today, RAM is working with 15 peoples, serving more than 20,000 indigenous people. in our way. And this is what's best because we have diversified cattle raising, people working with other types of productions, but the indigenous people, they work differently in their productions, not because we are behind. It's our way of generating income to selling properly, thinking about food security and selling only if we have a surplus, because we cannot sell and leave our families and our children with no food. So RAM brought this opportunity with this hard work of 190 indigenous agents. And when RAM came, it was an initiative. It was not a payment. We want RAM to support what we usually do in practice, implementing our management plans for the land and elaboration the plans for those lands that do not have it, with social justice, cultural increase and enhancement, environmental services, thinking about this food security, because we live in this forest, we depend on the forest to get our livelihood, but we have people there. We need more technology, we need renewables, we need the internet, quality internet, but we should strengthen what we do, not to to start whitening the indigenous people. We have to strengthen our roots, our culture, and the technology we have. And the science of Nawa has to walk hand in hand with traditional science. That's why we are showing the world that the pandemic didn't exterminate us.
Parado. Todo mundo dizia, todos os índios vão morrer, e nós estamos aqui. Morreu.
Everybody used to say the indigenous people would die, but we are here. Some of the indigenous people died, but we are still here. We have to study what kind of food we eat, what kind of medicines we use, how our prayers, that has to be taken into account. That is social justice, that is the appreciation of the traditional peoples. And REM helped this construction. I say money is everything. It's not everything, but it can complement our lives because we have the biggest wealth that the world is looking at. It's not because other countries degrade their forests that we will degrade our forests. We have the raw materials that we can build our houses the way that we want. We have touristic spots, we can work on traditional medicine, and we can get a lot of money with tourism without degrading our forests. We have raw materials. Thinking about economy with the indigenous people, it's not about only big companies. Today, I got only 2,000, I got almost 2,000 reais with handicraft, with clothes. There are people in the state of Acre that are selling their handicraft to other countries. Sometimes we are most appreciated in other countries than in our country, than in our states. I would like to congratulate FEPROINDIO. I was there in some discussions. During the pandemic, the government of Mato Grosso helped the indigenous people in Mato Grosso, supporting our brigades, supporting us with medication, supporting us with technology, and the government was flexible, talked to KfW. These things are not difficult. We shouldn't increase the bureaucracy for the indigenous people. We are not companies. There should be some different ways with working with the indigenous associations. RAM brought those indicators to us, and it can do much more. And there should be transparency, there should be dialogue and consultation and benefit sharing. Benefit sharing is also very important. That's what RAM brought to us. RAM is a project. Acre has a jurisdictional program. Acre has an autarky, and there are rules there. Projects and programs have to go through the indigenous governance. The federal government, the state government, the civil society, and the indigenous people. And today we have our updated governance. We are ready to receive other programs and projects because RAM opened the path and we have to search for more. We can't say that the RAM money was little. It must be little for some, but for us, Governor, it helped us. And it will continue helping us because it supported our production, our culture, our food safety. And now we have to think about the next step. After the child has grown, right, Klaus? Now we have to think about the other steps like renewable energy, technology, because we can't be stuck to the past. We need to move forward. And this will move forward with us. It will move forward with us, not for us. We can't do things for the indigenous people. We will do things with the indigenous people. We should all be anthropologists because we have to listen to the indigenous people. It's about listening. You shouldn't only talk to the scientists and the technicians. You can talk to the Pope, but you have to talk to us. There are structures, standards, and governance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very inspiring. I think you see the dedication and you see also the determination in order to make indigenous people voices heard and to preserve the culture. And I think we have some new guests on stage, and of course, Sandio, I'd like to give you the floor now, but also, if we have the honor, then to hear also a few words from our additional guests, would be very good. I think for this panel, I know we are running a bit over time, but I think it's a matter of respect for that. So.
Então, eu peço licença para mim falar em pé conforme minha tradição.
Excuse me, I will speak according to my Chavante tradition. I'm going to stand up. I'm very honored to be here with everyone in this Governor's Consortium to talk about positive things, not negative things, and about our realities within the RAM program. My relative friend, I'm very humble and I would like to recognize the success of the state of Mato Grosso within the RAM program. We visited the experience before we adapted the RAM program according to our reality. We talked to the state of Mato Grosso, the committee visited the state of Acre, and I think that's why, Governor, the RAM program, based on the experience of RAM in Acre, was able to achieve its goals. Our RAM program is being an instrument of study at the University of Brasilia, at the University of São Paulo, and at the University of São Carlos, as far as I know. The students, the scholars, are studying the climate mitigation and the social inclusion. Governor, probably it's not a lot of money, it's not a lot of funds, but for us, added to our traditional knowledge, it is enough. Of course, the state of Mato Grosso has the third largest territorial extension. First, it's Amazonas, then Pará, and then Mato Grosso. The difference is that Mato Grosso has solid ground, and the other two have rivers. Within these 10 years of the RAM program, here in the celebration, I have this message to tell you. Governor Mauro, when we leave our ideologies, our different ideologies, at our homes, and we discuss in favor of our bigger home, our home called planet Earth, we are able to develop. We're able to adapt our goals, our struggles, and we create tools which are not stored in the university's libraries. That is what our environmental department of Mato Grosso does. We are building tools to provide the maintenance of the standing forests, and that is preserving and conserving the universe of the 43 peoples, our cosmology, our technologies. I will be brief because there's 1 minute written here. I don't want to, so I want to finish my speech saying this. I don't want to demand from our president-elect Lula what I'm going to demand from our governor here. I'm aware that our structure of the Federal Republic of Brazil has 3 spheres of government. And what Sena does today, both in Acre and Mato Grosso, what our Brazilian parliament today is what our Brazilian parliament today cannot do. It's what the previous governor did. When the public policies focused on the indigenous peoples in Brazil were decentralized, we were left at our own luck. The Brazilian National Congress could not prepare the states and the municipalities. That is why we have this gap, the original peoples. We were not included in this preparation. The original peoples were not included in this instrument. And the program, the RAM program, came to repair this. The RAM program is not summarized only to figures. It is a meeting of our leaders, which we haven't seen for a long time. It is a collective construction. The RAM program appreciates the international laws that Brazil is a signatory of, like the Convention 69 of the ILO. The famous article of indigenous people, Article 31 of the Constitution of '88. Governor, I would like to thank you. You know how to separate. You know how to appreciate the activities that we develop in our state. And to wrap it up, you know how to recognize our chronology, our cosmology. I have never criticized the way that you develop, my brothers. I understand that the Brazilian state has spoken to us, and they have never seen that we are in different periods. We are integrated to the national society in a different way. So, Governor, in this COP, I request to you and to the team, see my friend Mauro, please continue helping our governor, because it is only possible to develop the RAM program because we left our differences aside. We left our different ideologies aside for the good and the welfare of everyone, of all human beings who can speak, all beings who are in this planet Earth. We continue speaking for them because we are part of this environment. We do not only use this environment, and this is the living proof. The feathers. We haven't lost our essence. And I demand respect to the world. I speak to the German people, to the British people, symbolized by KFW, the German people, the British people. Continue supporting us. But also, I reiterate the governor's speech, do your part. Because taking care of our home, taking care of this planet Earth is the duty of all of us. That is why we are here in this COP27. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Casanto. That was very inspiring. And I was expecting you to report on the local level. Instead, you showed us the importance for the global level. So this is very much appreciated. And also alluding to the respect and communication that it takes, sitting together to discuss different perspectives, overcoming differences despite living different cultures, but with mutual respect and a joint goal that goes way beyond the local level. I think you have mentioned very important aspects where hopefully RAM program has continued and has contributed and will contribute in the future. So thank you very much for that. I know we are a little bit short of time. I very much welcome all the representatives from the indigenous communities here. I welcome the continued dialogue, but let me stress, even after this event is over, when we go to the reception, there's space for dialogue. And I hope that we will have a very respectful and open dialogue about opportunities and challenges and how to move forward. So I invite you all afterwards to join me for the reception and to really have this exchange further on. And I know this is going to continue in the state of Mato Grosso, in the state of Brazil, in Colombia. All these discussions are going to continue, and we're very thankful to have this little part of the discussion here today. So thank you very much. It's on. So with that, we would like to come to a very nice part of the celebration. In a few minutes, we'll have drinks available for you, cocktails available. Pardon? And we'd like to have a group picture with all that happened on stage. So please come on stage for the group picture.